I still remember the exact moment my stomach dropped. I was driving home from work one Thursday evening, taking my usual route through our neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio. Traffic was light, so I glanced toward the community park like I always did. Kids were still playing basketball. A few people were walking their dogs. Nothing seemed unusual. Then I saw my 16-year-old son, Ethan. He was sitting on a bench beneath the old oak tree near the pond. He wasn't alone. A young woman sat beside him. They were holding hands, smiling, and talking like they didn't have a care in the world. I slowed down for a second, trying to make sure I wasn't mistaken. No, it was definitely Ethan. I thought about pulling into the parking lot, but by the time I reached the entrance, a line of cars was behind me. I kept driving. The entire way home, one thought kept repeating in my head. Why would Ethan lie about where he was? Or, maybe, why would my wife think he was somewhere else? When I walked through the front door, my wife Melissa was in the kitchen making dinner. "Hey," she said with a smile. "Long day?" I kissed her on the forehead. "Yeah." I set my briefcase down. "Where's Ethan?" She didn't even hesitate. "Still at Tyler's birthday party." I looked at her. "Are you sure?" She laughed. "Of course I'm sure. He texted me about an hour ago." I took a slow breath. "I just drove past Lincoln Park." "So?" "I saw him." Her smile faded. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I saw Ethan. He was sitting on a bench, holding hands with a girl." Melissa frowned immediately. "No. I'm telling you what I saw. You must have seen someone else. I know my own son." She shook her head. "Ethan wouldn't lie to us." I didn't argue. Instead, I quietly said, "Let's just wait until he gets home." Dinner stayed on the table untouched for nearly an hour. Neither of us talked much. Every time headlights passed our house, Melissa looked through the front window. Around 10:15 p.m., the front door finally opened. "Hey," Ethan called. He looked completely normal, relaxed, happy. He kicked off his sneakers and walked into the kitchen. "How was Tyler's birthday party?" I asked. He smiled. "It was great." "What'd you guys do?" "We ordered pizza, played video games, watched a movie." He answered without hesitation. Then I looked him in the eyes. "That's interesting. Because I saw you sitting in Lincoln Park, holding hands with a girl." His smile disappeared instantly. He froze. For several seconds, nobody said a word. Melissa looked from me to Ethan. "Ethan?" He swallowed hard. He looked at the floor. "I can explain." Melissa crossed her arms. "Then explain." He slowly sat down. "I wasn't at Tyler's party." "I know that," I said quietly. "I went there first." Neither of us spoke. He rubbed his hands together nervously. "The girl, her name is Lily." Melissa's voice was surprisingly calm. "Is she your girlfriend?" He nodded, almost invisibly. "For how long?" "About 6 months." Melissa blinked. 6 months? You've had a girlfriend for 6 months and never told us? I was scared. Scared of what? He looked at me. You. That answer hit harder than I expected. Me? You always said dating could wait. You always talked about grades, college, responsibilities. I thought you'd be disappointed. I sat there quietly. Had I really made my son afraid to tell me something so ordinary? Melissa sighed. Ethan, you know you didn't have to lie. I know. I'm sorry. I wanted to be angry. I really did. Instead, I mostly felt sad. You understand why this worries us. He nodded. I know. Who is Lily? She goes to my school. Does her family know? Yes. They know we're friends. Melissa asked gently. Friends? He smiled awkwardly. They know she's my girlfriend. I almost laughed, despite everything. Teenagers. They always think they're the first generation to fall in love. The conversation continued for another hour. He apologized. We explained why lying destroyed trust. He promised it wouldn't happen again. Eventually, everyone hugged. I honestly believed the whole thing was over. I was wrong. 3 days later, My phone rang while I was at work. It was the principal from Ethan's high school. Mr. Harrison? Yes. I'd appreciate it if you could come in this afternoon. Is Ethan okay? Physically, yes. But we'd like to discuss something. My heart sank. When I arrived, Ethan was already sitting in the office. Lily sat beside him. She looked terrified. Across from them sat the principal and the school counselor. The principal folded his hands. We're concerned about a situation involving Lily. I looked at Ethan. What happened? He glanced toward Lily before answering. Lily's dad. He drinks. The room became very quiet. The counselor continued. According to Lily, there's been increasing conflict at home. Nothing criminal has been reported. But the environment has become emotionally unsafe. Lily stared at the floor. My dad loses his temper. He doesn't hit me. But he screams. Throws things. Sometimes I leave the house just so I don't have to hear it. I suddenly remembered something. The park. Ethan nodded. She called me. I met her there. I didn't know what else to do. I looked at him. So, the day I saw you. You weren't sneaking around. He shook his head. She'd been crying. I just wanted to make sure she wasn't alone. Melissa reached over and gently squeezed Lily's hand. Oh, sweetheart. The counselor smiled softly. Ethan stayed with her until her aunt arrived. He also encouraged Lily to speak with us Monday morning. I looked at my son differently. The lie still bothered me. But now, I understood why he'd hidden the truth. He wasn't trying to rebel. He was trying to protect someone who trusted him. Over the following weeks, Lily began staying with her aunt while her parents entered family counseling. Things slowly improved. One evening I invited Ethan into the garage while I worked on an old toolbox. I owe you an apology. He looked surprised. For what? I assumed the worst. You lied. I did, but I never asked why. He nodded slowly. I should have trusted you enough to tell you. Maybe. I tightened a wrench before looking at him. You know, when I was your age. I lied to Grandpa too. His eyes widened. You did? I laughed. Oh, plenty. I once told him I was spending the night studying. What were you actually doing? Driving 2 hours to see your mom. He burst out laughing. You? I wasn't always old. He smiled. I guess not. I became serious again. Ethan. Being honest doesn't mean you'll never disappoint me. It means we'll solve problems together. He nodded. I understand. A month later, he asked if Lily could come over for dinner. Instead of hiding their relationship, they walked through the front door together. Melissa greeted Lily with a hug. I shook her hand. She looked nervous. You don't have to be scared, I told her. The only rule in this house is honesty. She smiled. I can do that. Dinner turned out surprisingly fun. Lily was funny, kind, respectful. She teased Ethan every chance she got. Watching them together reminded me so much of Melissa and me at 16 that it almost hurt. After they left, Melissa smiled at me. You know, what? You were already planning their wedding in your head. I laughed. I was not. You absolutely were. Maybe she wasn't entirely wrong. Life settled back into normal. Months passed. Ethan kept every promise he'd made. His grades stayed high. He never lied about where he was again. If he wanted to see Lily, he simply asked. Most of the time we said yes. One Saturday morning, he walked into the kitchen holding 2 mugs of coffee. One for me. He sat across from me. Thanks. He shrugged. I wanted to ask you something. Go ahead. Were you really disappointed when you first found out about Lily? I thought carefully before answering. No. I was disappointed because I thought I'd become the kind of father my son couldn't trust. His eyes filled slightly. I never wanted that. I know. I was just afraid. Afraid of disappointing you. I smiled. You know what I've learned? He shook his head. Kids usually don't lie because they're bad. They lie because they're scared. Sometimes they're scared of consequences. Sometimes they're scared of judgment. And sometimes they're scared of losing the people they love. He quietly nodded. I reached across the table and squeezed his shoulder. Then let's make a deal. No more lies. No matter how uncomfortable the truth is. He smiled. Deal. Looking back now, I'm almost grateful I drove past that park. If I'd taken my usual shortcut, I'd never have seen Ethan. I'd never have discovered the lie. And more importantly, I'd never have discovered the truth behind it. That afternoon wasn't about catching my son doing something wrong. It was about realizing that growing up means our children eventually start carrying burdens we can't always see. Sometimes they don't need immediate judgment. They need someone willing to ask one more question before reaching a conclusion. I thought I caught my son betraying our trust. Instead, I found a young man quietly trying to help someone through one of the hardest moments of her life. The biggest lesson wasn't that Ethan needed to become more honest. It was that I needed to become the kind of father who made honesty feel safe. If this confession has taught me anything, it's that trust isn't built by demanding the truth. It's built by creating a home where the truth can be spoken without fear. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.